You say you're not a numbers type, you're soulful, wild, and free, but money still flows through columns and avoids you subconsciously. You dodge the digits, ghost the graphs, and dread what they might say, as if your magic might get smaller if you dare to press display. But numbers don't diminish you, they clarify the spell. And when you make them work for you, your business starts to swell. So let's drop the lie that numbers aren't your lane, because that story's what's been quietly draining your domain. You don't need to be a bookkeeper to build a cash flow throne, just someone who's ready to relate to money like it's your own. Not someone else's system, not someone else's pace, but the rhythm of your soul and the codes in your birth chart space. Ready to reroute your flow from confusion to command? Grab your magic and a spreadsheet. We've got power in our hands. Think you're just not a numbers person? That all too common and worn out identity is costing you, if this is you, more than just money, more than you realize, and not just in dollars. In this episode, we are peeling back the veil to reveal the mindset stuff, the misalignment, the avoidance that's keeping you stuck in financial fog, and how to get through it to financial flow, and in a way that is specifically designed for how you are designed to flow. Listen or watch on to find out the identity trap that makes financial fog feel like safety, the one number you cannot afford to ignore but probably are, the hidden risk inside your tax deductions, why your resistance is not random and your chart knows why, the real difference between financial flow and financial chaos, and the one action you can take today to shift all of this. First, let's unpack this identity trap that probably is a bit of a comfy blanket for you, if not something you've directly tuned into, something you've heard so many other people say, particularly in the space of creative, spiritually anchored kind of people, alternative, right brain, artist, passion driven people, right? The people we love, the person you probably are. This is something we hear so often. Of course, I hear so often, but I'm just not a numbers person. I can't tell you how many clients came to me when I was a tax preparer for almost a decade in this particular niche of epic people that had this story. I want to unpack why that belief, that story, that identity that you might be claiming and holding on to is costing you so much. It basically becomes like a shield, or I like to talk about like a concrete ceiling that you then, however consciously, are crouched under, that keeps you from really being able to make the money you need, scale to the lifestyle you envision and want through the means of your business, feel confident to be able to run and steward your business, liberate yourself to not only be able to give your full professional focus and time and bandwidth to your passion work, the ways that you feel the most fulfilled serving in this life, and also all of the extracurricular shit you want to do. Still being able to travel and have fun and not feel like you basically just traded a 9 to 5 or slot in the corporate world for your own personal prison. The identity trap of I'm just not a numbers person becomes like a shackle, a chain, something that stops you, limits you from really being able to ride that flow, gain that momentum to situate yourself so that you know exactly where you are now, where you're headed, what's going on, and how you can get to where you want to go next. Everything about that journey actually is so beyond numbers. We're going to get to that, but it's the numbers that make it possible. And you don't have to be a math whiz, you don't have to be an accountant to be able to engage this part of your business. You just need to be willing to look, and to look regularly. It really is all about your attention, your presence, the rhythmic, regular way that you show up for this cause that yields the result. not your abilities or capacity necessarily around actually crunching the numbers, which, by the way, is actually so super easy once you do lean in. You'll find, like so many of my clients that come to me in avoidance and make it through the other side of establishing a ritual that feels really good to show up for, that your avoidance is so much heavier than your attention once you're willing to peacefully apply it to this part of your business. So basically, you just need to be willing to be in relationship with them. You don't need to be an expert of them. This brings us to that very simple thing that becomes available and obvious and part of your awareness, which is so empowering when you're willing to simply look. And this brings us to the number that you probably don't know in your business, that your avoidance is keeping you from, that is the one number you cannot afford to ignore if you want to reach and maintain success as a self-employed earner. And that is your profit. This is one of the basic things I teach in Cosmic Currency that is really one of the only things you actually need to know about how accounting works, is the super simple equation that income minus expenses equals profit. And the reason that this super basic but so commonly avoided equation is so important and powerful for you as a business owner is because it is the two sides that I like to call the dials that you need to be looking at, your revenue and your expenses, to be aware of, and so be able to make mindful, intentional, strategic decision around to make that profit number as big as possible, because that profit number is the actual metric of your success. And it's what you actually have to work with for making your dreams come true, essentially. It's what's left over for you to reinvest in your business or invest in yourself or your future or splurge on whatever you want to. That is the true metric of success when it comes to how success actually feels as a business owner. Yes, we get there from the numbers, but it's what makes what is far beyond anything numbers could touch. That's what gets us there, but that's that space that you feel and know when you've arrived, that you are actually living the life that you've envisioned, and the business that you've built, the ways that you show up to serve people are what are funding that vision as your new normal and the lifestyle that you get to enjoy for you, for your family, for the people you get to touch. So essentially, power is that profit dial that becomes available to you when you are willing to lean in and able to commit to a regular check-in with your money, regular tending of those two other dials, your income and expenses. Typically, people are aware of and tuned into their income. That's something that is harder to avoid. You do have to price your offers. Oftentimes, what's motivating how you're pricing your offers is not supporting the cause of these dials. Also, oftentimes, people are just totally looking away from their expenses, not paying attention to both the numbers of what are flowing out currently and what you would like to flow out, what you need to be able to make the money to meet and match to be able to afford the things that you are calling in. So the reason that this number is the one that you cannot afford to ignore is because it is the bottom line. If you're not paying attention, you're just guessing, you're in the kind of flow that is just falling and being pushed around by the wind instead of actually being synced up and locked in with those GPS, or I like to call WPS, wealth positioning system coordinates, of actually intentionally aiming for exactly the lifestyle, the spending, the investments that you envision and decide that you're going to get to. So you do, because you do it strategically, because you're paying attention to these numbers, and ultimately for the cause of keeping your your eye on the prize of that profit dial, that amount that is the true metric of how successful you are in your business. That's the fun part. So once you've actually moved through your resistance, you lean into and start looking at and engaging these numbers, these dials in your business. It's actually really fun what aligns your magical manifestation side and self with your numbers, because you are just tagging actual amounts that make it possible to be strategic and make the decisions that you need to with those income and expense dials to actually be able to make them meet and match. That's the numbers side, and it is absolutely just plugging in and the other half of the equation of that deep, magical desire feeling side of what you are co creating, calling in, moving toward, and the whole point of your business. What is your business meant to fuel and feed? That's the fun part. What I found to be the block for people around why they don't even lean into that, around why they're just not a numbers person, what they think of that they're actually in resistance to and have no interest in engaging with, are the more compliance tracking, what's actually happening inside your business, the record keeping. Besides that, I have created the most magnificent tool for you that is nervous system calming because it is aesthetically soothing, but also designed very intentionally to be very simple and straightforward, not the complicated software that you may be avoiding. We make this part feel good and fun and integrated into a currency flow practice that feels like yours, that's aligned with your design, that you actually want to and will show up for. You heard me mention the word compliance. This is the part that you actually are required to be doing as a business owner. The reason that it can cost you so much money not to, well, there's lots of reasons, right? If you're not keeping track, you're probably not putting money aside for taxes. So you're going to get stuck with a huge bill come tax time that you probably can't afford. You might have to set up a payment plan for and add penalties and interest. None of that's fun. You're probably also missing deductions, write-offs that you could be reducing how much you owe. So you're shelling out more in taxes than you need to. For the things that you actually are writing off, if you were to ever get audited, and I don't mean to be a fear monger, but if you don't have those records ready and available in your back pocket, the IRS might end up disallowing those write-offs. So then you get stuck with a bill that you were not expecting to have to then pay back savings that you thought you got to keep on your taxes. This is the less fun one to talk about, but just want to offer the reminder that you not being a numbers person and avoiding this side of your business could mean serious financial discomfort. And the alternative, which again can be so peaceful and simple and so unlike all of the stress that it causes you to be avoiding it, is truly just a form of protection to do it. I can tell you that the peace of mind, indirectly, what is otherwise a giant elephant in the room, the absence of that, of knowing that you have all of your ducks in a row, everything ready and available to protect you from that possibility, both with the unfortunate, hopefully never going to happen to you thing of getting audited, but also every single year when you go to file your taxes, having systems in place that work for you, that you can actually commit to showing up for and do because you want to, and it actually feels awesome, are so important because you're also protecting yourself from the yearly nightmare of tax filing when you don't have that shit in place. Quick sidebar, if this is you, if this is resembling you, if this is hitting a nerve, striking a chord, you may be an avoidant with money. But I want you to know that if that's the case, that is not a prescription. That is, unlike what's in your chart, something that is so much more going to be a part of you for the long haul. This is just where you are right now. And there is actually not only so much power in knowing and being able to identify where you are right now to be able to get to where you want to go. But there's also actually superpowers in being an avoidant with money. So this gets down to attachment style. If this is not something that you are currently or already familiar with when it comes to intimate relating, we can put ourselves into boxes just in terms of where we are right now with money, like with relationship, whether you are an avoidant, an anxious, a disorganized, or a secure. The first three all have very clear pathways to get to being financially secure. If this is you and you're like, well, shit, do yourself a favor, go pull up cosmicb.link/quiz. Whatever you're doing right now, get it up on your phone, up on your browser so that it's there for you when you're done and have a moment. It takes less than 5 minutes to answer some questions and find out where you are right now. What is your money attachment style that I like to call your cosmic money style, because ultimately it is going to connect you to a path of rising and rooting at the same time into the financial security available to you as a securely attached person with money. Again, if you've been getting the uncomfies right now around everything that I'm talking about, go real quick, cosmicb.link/quiz, get that pulled up, return to it when you have 5 minutes, and get yourself rooted into understanding and fully accepting and leveraging where you are right now, whether it's avoidant or one of the other attachment styles, so that you can clear through the noise of all of this and get to that space of ease and clarity with your money flow. Moving on to the most fun part, which is being able to look at your astrology chart, which is the energetic matrix, the design that was imprinted on and encoded into you the moment that you took your first breath, that has certain cosmic codes that we can look at to understand the journey to get to what is optimal, as well as that light at the end of the tunnel of what optimal looks like for you. My background is in evolutionary astrology. I studied with the best. We are able, through this system, through this lens, to see not only what that guiding version of you is that you should absolutely be aware of as a cheat code to shortcut getting there, but also being able to see more clearly and again, have more compassion with yourself around wherever you are on the path, on the spectrum from more unconsciously expressing to consciously, optimally flowing with the magic of your design. Any resistance that you experience to the money stuff and being just not a numbers person is not a flaw in you. It's probably just a mismatch from how you're designed and how you've either been operating or thinking that you need to in order to lean in to the numbers side, the money side, that side of your business. There's just a mismatch, a misalignment. When you have systems that actually align with your wiring, they feel like they were designed for you because they were, and it feels just as good to show up for them as any other part of your business that feels, you know what it feels like. It feels like you crack a code, you find a way of doing things differently than how you've heard other people doing it that works so well for you. It feels really good to show up for that thing, for the evolution of that thing, for that space. That's what we're able to do through looking at your chart with the money stuff. So this is your reminder. You don't need more willpower. You don't need more grit to show up for the money side of your business. You just need how you're doing it to be aligned with your design. Speaking of that mismatch, this brings us to the real difference between financial chaos and financial flow. The flow I'm talking about is not absence of structure. It's a rhythm, a current that you create and step inside of that actually fits you and is an extension of who and how you are, that becomes your new flow. Similar to a river where it requires the structure of the banks to intentionally create the actual flow of the river that you can jump into, that's what we're talking about here. Chaos happens when your awareness does not match your actions, either because you don't have the awareness that you need to, or you're not acting at all, or some combination of both where there's a mismatch. Whereas flow is when they are acting together. You have the awareness that you need and you are acting accordingly. This is where structure becomes an intentional spell to align your actions with your energy. Because the systems, the structures that you're working within are designed around your unique energetic blueprint. This brings me back to, if you take one thing away from this, let it be that all your money really needs from you. Let go everything in your head that you think that you were lacking or were never taught, or however you judge or feel shame with yourself around your money stuff and the role you play in your business around its money flow. Remember that all it actually needs from you is your regular rhythmic engagement. That's it. You just have to be willing to lean in and look. Alongside that one takeaway, if you've made it this far, I want to leave you with one action that you can take today to turn this all around. Okay, make that two, and we're just tying them up in a bow because you heard them already. You don't need to overhaul your money systems overnight. That's a process that takes time after you're willing to lean in. You just need to do two things. One, look. Whatever's been coming up for you during this episode that you know you've been avoiding, that you haven't looked at in a while, as soon as you're done here, as soon as you have a moment, lean in and look. Just look at it, because that is the simplest, although seemingly most daunting step that you need to take to turn this all around, is just look. Get curious, start seeing what's there, then go to that browser tab that you pulled up, cosmicbee.link/quiz. So you can find out exactly where you are now, and I will send you so many free resources to have what you need to be able to get to the financially secure and flowing path that is going to send you to where you actually want to be with money and transform you into the person that can actually take you there.